Imagine icy water closing over two small sisters, while a lone swimmer battles a paralyzing cramp to reach them. 30 meters decide whether fear wins or courage rewrites every life on that shore. Tonight we relive the seconds that shattered prejudice and sparked a movement. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and tell us where you are watching from. Now let's jump into the story. The sun hung low over Willowbrook Park, painting everything in soft orange and gold. The lake shimmered gently, almost like it was breathing. The breeze danced through the trees, making leaves rustle in lazy whispers. It was the kind of evening that made you want to slow down, maybe spread out a blanket, and forget about everything for a while. Marcus Rowe didn't come here to relax. His bare feet pressed into the worn wood of the lakeside boardwalk, each step calm but steady. His eyes scanned the water with purpose, not peace. He dropped his faded gym bag near a bench, then began stretching, quiet, focused, and completely alone, moved like someone used to winning races. His shoulders broad, his muscles lean, but there was no crowd here, no coach, no stopwatch waiting for him to break a record. Only the lake and a few distant glances from people who weren't sure what to think of him. Some looked away quickly. Others watched too long. A couple nearby shifted their picnic basket slightly when Marcus jogged past. A mother pulled her child a little closer and whispered something under her breath. Marcus heard it, but didn't flinch. He was used to it. It wasn't the first time someone looked at his skin before his strength, at his silence before his story reached the pull-up bar set by the edge of the walking path, wrapped his hands around the cold metal, and began. 1, 2, 3, each repetition slow and controlled. His arms trembled with effort but didn't stop. Sweat rolled down his temple and clung to his jaw. He didn't wipe it away. A memory drifted in with the rhythm of his movement. This same park used to be where he trained for state championships. He'd been a star swimmer once. Schools wanted him, coaches praised him, newspapers wrote about him. But that was before the scholarships vanished, before the medical bills stacked up, before his father needed him more than the sport ever did. He'd traded lanes for long shifts and chlorine for dust. He told himself he didn't regret it, but every time he stood by this lake, the sting returned, soft and slow, like cold water, slipping under a door from the corner of his eye. He noticed a man spreading a checkered blanket a few feet away. His two daughters, identical twins, pale-skinned with blonde ponytails and flowered sun hats, raced around him. Giggling and barefoot, they bounced a bright red ball between them, their laughter high and sharp like music. Man, Philip Harding, wore a crisp polo shirt and expensive sunglasses. He glanced at Marcus, the way people glance at thunderstorms in the distance, quiet and unsure. Then without a word, he gathered up the picnic plates and called to the girls. "We're moving," he said. Short and tight tone of the twins frowned. "But we just started playing," she said, her voice small. But Philip didn't answer. He picked up the cooler and began walking toward another patch of grass. The girls followed, dragging their sandals with small size. Marcus dropped from the pull-up bar, his arms burning. He watched them go, not with anger, not even sadness, just a quiet ache he didn't have words for. It wasn't the first time someone had moved away from him. It likely wouldn't be the last. Walked along the lake's edge, letting his muscles cool down. Reeds brushed against his ankles as he stepped closer to the water. He listened to the sounds around him, birds, laughter, wind, but something felt off, like a key out of tune. He stopped by a fallen log, crouched down, and dipped his hand into the water. It was cooler than usual, still and deep, perfect for practicing breath control. He'd swum in colder rivers before, but something about the stillness today made him hesitate. A soft thump caught his ear, then a small splash. Marcus stood straight, eyes narrowing. The red ball floated on the lake now, moving slowly with the current. It hadn't been there a moment ago. Turned toward the slope where Philip and the girls had been. But their spot was empty. No blanket, no cooler, no father. Just an empty patch of grass. His heart skipped. His swimmer's brain scanned the water. Again, this time faster, searching for movement, a shape, anything. Then he saw it. Two tiny figures just beneath the surface, barely visible, arms flailing, legs kicking. Heads going under and coming back up again. No screaming, just panic. Marcus didn't think. He didn't calculate distance or time, he just moved. His shoes flew off, his shirt followed, and his feet pounded the grass toward the water. "Hold on," he shouted. Even though he knew they couldn't hear him, the red ball bumped gently against the shore, unnoticed now. Just a toy. Just a marker of something gone horribly wrong. As Marcus dove into the lake, the sun slipped lower, and the last light caught on the water like a closing curtain. No one else had seen them, no one else had moved. Only Marcus and the lake, and the silence between breath and breaking. The lake swallowed the sound of the world. Marcus Rowe hit the water like a blade, his arms cutting forward, legs kicking hard. The cold shocked his body, but he didn't care. He had no time to think about the chill, only time to reach his. Breath tightened in his chest as he dove deeper, eyes open, the murky green around him shifting with every stroke. Bubbles trailed behind him as he pushed through the weight of water, every second stretched, long and quiet. Then he saw her. The smaller girl, Ivy, her arms swinging wildly, her head barely above the surface, and Marcus surged forward, wrapped his right arm under her chest, and kicked upward. Ivy's cough broke through as they surfaced. Her mouth opened in a choked cry. She was scared but breathing. She was. Olivia looked around, scanning, but Lily was gone. He took a sharp breath and dove again. Deeper this time, his ears popped from pressure. The water darker now, shadows thick and pressing. Then a flash of pink. A leg. Still and drifting, his heart pounded harder than his legs. He grabbed Lily's wrist and pulled. She didn't fight. She didn't move at all. Fear wrapped around his ribs like chains. He forced them both upward. Lungs screaming for air. He broke through again. Gasping, Ivy clung to him. Lily was limp in his arm, her face pale. Marcus tilted her slightly, and she sputtered, water spilling from her mouth. Relief slammed into him so hard he almost dropped her. Now came the harder part, getting back shore. Looked farther than before, the water heavier, the wind had picked up. Tiny ripples smacked against them like sharp whispers. Marcus shifted both girls into his arms, lifting their heads higher. His legs kicked strong at first. Then something snapped. A sudden pain stabbed through his left calf, white-hot and blinding. The cramp seized him like a fist, locking his leg mid-kick. Marcus gritted his teeth, nearly dropped Ivy, and struggled to adjust. Could still float. He told himself he could keep going with one leg. He had to. He had no choice. Evie started crying softly. Lily coughed again. Marcus whispered, you're okay, just hang on." Though he wasn't sure if the words were for them or for himself. Pain spread, creeping from his calf to his thigh. Both legs began to shake. His strength was draining faster than the lake could cool his skin. His shoulders burned, his back strained. Every part of his body begged him to stop, but he didn't stop. Shifted their weight again, wrapped his arms around their chests, holding them like life rafts. His own chin dipped under the surface. He let himself sink a little, using the water to lift them higher, keeping their faces dry even as his own disappeared beneath a wave slapped him. Filling his mouth with lake water, he coughed, swallowed some, choked, then forced himself upright again. His breath came in short, sharp gasps. The world above him flickered in and out of focus. No one was near. The people at the park hadn't seen, hadn't heard. The trail was empty. The bench lines blurred, and still he kicked. Still he held them. Still he fought, tried to scream again. But his voice cracked and broke. Water filled his throat. His grip slipped for a second, and panic flared. He squeezed tighter, refocused. Didn't let go the path. Chelsea Navarro was jogging, earbuds in, her ponytail bouncing. She slowed when she caught something strange out of the corner of her eye. A shape in the water, 3 shapes maybe. Not moving right. She yanked the buds out, squinting, then saw it. Arms in the air. Barely keeping 2 little heads above water. Chelsea dropped her phone. kicked off her shoes, and ran toward the lake, shouted, "Help! Someone call 911. Her voice cracking from urgency, a cyclist stopped. Eyes wide, already dialing his phone, Chelsea waded in, waist deep, then chest. But she couldn't reach him. The drop was too sudden. She couldn't swim like he did, couldn't get to him fast enough. Marcus saw her, but barely registered it. His vision had narrowed, his ears rang. The pain had taken over his legs completely. Both cramping, both useless. Noah's arms were numb. His lips blue. His body was sinking, but his hands never let go, gave one final push, just enough to lift Lily's head above water. Enough to hear Ivy whimper his name. His strength left him. Like a switch had flipped, his body slipped under. The lake closing over his head with eerie silence. For a moment, it was peaceful. No more noise, no more pain, only the soft pull of the water and a memory of his father's voice saying, "Don't fight the current. Trust yourself." Marcus let go of the fight. Not the girls, just the pain. Just the Firthan arms grabbed him, strong hands pulling hard. Lifting from the deep, it was Emilio Ruiz, a local park ranger, his boots discarded. Shirt soaked, he'd run from the far trail when he heard Chelsea screaming. Now he dragged Marcus through the shallows with the help of two more strangers. Chelsea scooped Ivy from the water. Lily was pulled out next, both coughing, alive. Marcus's eyes fluttered. He felt the ground again, the cold mud against his cheek. Voices shouting, footsteps running. A siren growing louder wanted to speak, to ask if they were okay, but no words came, only breath, shaky and shallow, only the soft weight of water leaving his lungs, only Ivy's voice calling faintly beside him, "He saved us," she whispered, her small voice more powerful than any sound in the world. Marcus didn't answer, but his heart heard it, and for the first time in what felt like forever, it beat not with pain, but with purpose. The lights above Marcus' row blinked softly, white and humming like a quiet song. He opened his eyes slowly, unsure if he was awake or dreaming. The ceiling tiles looked endless, the corners too bright, too clean. The air smelled like bleach and cotton. He was in a hospital. That much he could tell. His throat felt dry. His chest ached with every breath, and when he tried to sit up, a sharp pain shot through his side. He winced, closing his eyes again, letting the ache remind him he was still alive. Soft footsteps passed beyond the curtain near his bed. Nurses spoke in calm voices. Machines beeped gently beside him. A warm blanket covered his legs, though he could barely feel them. His muscles still frozen from the lake's grip. Then came a new sound, one that didn't belong to machines or nurses. It was louder, rougher, filled with panic. "Where are my girls? I need to see them." The voice cracked like thunder in the pumped hallway. Marcus turned his head slightly, heart suddenly heavy. He knew that voice, even if he had never heard it like this before. Philip Harding stormed down the corridor, his polo shirt wrinkled, shoes soaked, his hair wild, his eyes wide and red. Nurses tried to calm him, pointing toward the pediatric wing. His daughters were safe, they said, breathing, recovering. He barely nodded, then turned toward the room Marcus lay in. The curtain shifted, and Philip stepped inside. Silence fell between them like a wall. Neither man spoke at first. Philip looked different now, not polished, not proud, just human. "They told me," he said at last, his voice shaking. "They told me you saved them." Marcus didn't reply right away. He looked at Philip's face, searching for the man who had pulled his daughters away from him just hours ago. Now here he was, standing with tears in his eyes. "I saw you at the park," Philip continued, his words thick with guilt. "And I assumed things I had no right to assume." Marcus looked away, his fingers twitching against the blanket. He'd heard apologies before, most of them quiet, forced, late. "When I saw you near them," Philip said, voice breaking, "I thought you were trouble. I thought you might hurt them, and I pulled them away from you, away from the one person who would end up saving their lives." Marcus closed his eyes, the pain in his chest deeper now, not from the cold, but from the truth of it. Not even nearly drowning could numb that kind of hurt. I left them alone. Philip whispered, stepping closer. I went to grab food. Just 10 minutes and I wasn't there when they needed me most. But you were, and you didn't hesitate. Marcus finally spoke, his voice rough and dry. I almost didn't make it, he said, barely above a whisper. I didn't think I'd be strong enough to get all the way back. Philip's eyes filled again. His hands trembled at his sides. You did more than I could have, he said. More than I deserved. Neither man spoke for a long moment. Just breathing. Just sharing the quiet, and Philip took a deep breath. My name's Philip Harding, he said. I run Harbor Stride Sports. We make swim gear, sponsor athletes. We've built careers off strong swimmers, Marcus raised eyebrow, not sure where this was going. I've worked with Olympians. Philip added, but I've never seen anyone risk everything like you did. And not for glory, not for medals, just because you could. The curtain rustled again, and a smaller figure stepped in, Lily, wrapped in a hospital blanket like a cape, her cheeks still pale, her hair damp. She walked slowly to Marcus's bed and looked at him with wide eyes. She didn't say anything at first. Just stared, then reached out her hand and gently touched his. The same hand that had held her above the water. You saved me, she said softly, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Marcus looked down at her hand in his throat. Too tight to answer, he just nodded slowly. His eyes stinging. Philip stepped closer, voice steadier now. I want to help you get back in the water, he said. If you still want that, I can make it happen. I can sponsor your return, your training, anything you need. Marcus looked at him, unsure if he was still dreaming after everything. This offer felt unreal, too big, too sudden. And there's something else, Philip added. This town doesn't have a proper pool, especially not one open to all kids. We've got the resources, and I want to build one. A community center. With your name on it. Marcus stared at him, trying to find the right words. The idea was so far from where his life had been headed, so far from the silence, the staring, the small jobs that never paid enough. Looked back at Lily. Her fingers still curled gently around his, and suddenly he saw it. A future not filled with fear, but with purpose. If that pool gives one kid a reason to believe they belong, Marcus said, his voice still soft but strong, then yes, let's build it. Philip nodded, a smile breaking through his tired face. We'll start tomorrow. In the corner of the room, Ivy peeked through the doorway, holding her sister's stuffed bunny. She gave Marcus a tiny wave, then tiptoed inside and leaned against the side of his bed for the first time in what felt like years. Marcus felt seen, not as a shadow, not as a threat, but as a man, a hero, and maybe even a coach. And in that quiet hospital room, filled with whispers and healing, something bigger than gratitude was born. A chance not just to swim again, but to change everything. The sky over Willowbrook was a soft shade of gold, the kind that made everything look like it had been touched by kindness. The brand new Willowbrook Community Aquatic Center stood tall and proud, its windows gleaming, its name carved in brushed steel above the entrance. Marcus Row pool banners waved gently in the breeze. People gathered near the front steps, families with children, neighbors, city officials, local reporters, all waiting for the ribbon-cutting ceremony to begin. Laughter floated in the air, mixing with the sound of splashing water from the practice lanes already in use. Inside, Marcus stood by the main doors, wearing a clean button-down shirt and dark slacks. His shoes felt stiff compared to the bare feet he had always worn near pools. But today, they made him feel solid, grounded. Like this place was his to stand on. Beside him stood Philip Harding, now a familiar face in town, no longer just a businessman but a partner in something real. And on either side of him, Lily and Ivy held small paper flags that read, "Thank you, Coach Marcus," their eyes shining like they knew they belonged here too. Inside the center, the pool stretched long and bright, the water smooth like glass, lane ropes in perfect lines, the smell of chlorine mixed with fresh paint and something new. Hope Mayor Thomas stepped up to the microphone first. She spoke with warmth, telling The story of a man who once saved 2 lives but ended up saving a town's heart too. When she handed the ceremonial scissors to Marcus, the crowd clapped loud and long. Some even wiped their eyes. Marcus took a breath and stepped forward. His voice steady but full. "I never thought I'd see my name on a building," he said, "not because I didn't believe in myself, but because the world didn't always believe in me." He looked at the kids in the crowd, some of them black. Like him, some brown, some white, all of them wide-eyed and eager. "This place isn't just for swimming," he said. "It's for believing, it's for showing up, even when no one's watching, even when it's hard. I used to think being fast was enough," he added. "But I learned that real change doesn't come from speed. It comes from courage, from choosing to act when it matters most." When he stepped back from the mic, the crowd stood again, louder this time. The applause bouncing off the walls, echoing into every corner of the pool. Ceremony ended with hugs and photos and promises. But the real joy came after, when free swim hour began, and the pool filled with children and parents and teens, eager to try their first dive or practice their strokes. Marcus changed into a swim shirt and whistle. Already coaching by the time the last ribbon was packed away, he guided a group of kids to lane 1, teaching flutter kicks and breathing rhythms. His voice calm and encouraging. Every splash a small ripple of something better. Philip watched from a bench, smiling, his shoes already off, rolled up slacks revealing mismatched socks. Lily tugged on his sleeve and said, "Race him, Daddy, come on." The idea made some of the grown-ups laugh, but Philip grinned, shrugged off his dress shirt, and walked to the edge of the pool. "What do you say, Coach?" he called. 50 meters just for fun." Marcus looked over, raised an eyebrow, then nodded. "You're gonna lose that tie in the deep end," he joked, and the kids howled. With laughter and the count of 3, they dove in. Philip's splash was bigger, messier. Marcus's dive was smooth and silent. They swam side by side, water glinting under the lights. The race wasn't fast, but it was full of something better. Then speed joy halfway through. Lily and Ivy jumped in too, paddling hard, not caring about form or winning, just being part of the moment. When they all touched the wall at the other end, laughter broke across the pool. People clapped from the bleachers, phones recorded, but the smiles were real, not posed, not practiced. Said Marcus leaned on the wall, breathing easy, looking up at the twins who clung to the side beside him. "You two swim like pros already," he said. "That's because we have the best coach," Ivy replied, grinning wide. Later that evening, as the sun dipped low and the last kids dried off, Marcus walked the length of the empty pool, the reflection of lights rippling at his feet. He paused at the edge, watching the water settle, remembering the lake, the fear, the pain, the cold, and then this quiet peace. Philip joined him, hands in his pockets. "You know," he said, "I've sponsored champions, but this feels like the biggest win yet." Marcus nodded. "Champions don't always wear medals," he said. "Sometimes they just show up when it counts." They stood in silence for a moment, watching as Lily ran across the far deck yelling, "Coach Marcus, tomorrow you teach us flips." He called back, "You got it. Bring your best cannonball too." As the building emptied, the last thing to fade was the sound of laughter, echoing against the tile, bouncing into Memorian for the first time in years. Marcus didn't feel like he was chasing something. He felt like he had arrived, not at the finish line, but at the beginning of something that mattered more. Something built, not from glory, but from grit, from heart, from a moment that no one had expected, but everyone would remember. And as he turned off the pool lights one by one, the ripples kept moving, quietly, steadily, reaching farther than he ever thought they could.